This is Hannibal here from the HannibalTV.com, and today I am continuing the trend of interviewing owners of promotions that have a lot of potential to be successful. Today I have the owner of the new Championship Wrestling from Florida relaunch. It's called CWF Reloaded. They've done, I believe, one event so far. It is posted on the Hannibal TV for anyone that wants to check it out. And they have another one coming up at the Waimama Convention Center. It's going to be October 23rd, and Jeff Weaver is going to tell us more about it. He is the owner of Deep South Sports and CWF Reloaded. How are you doing today, sir?
Not too bad. Glad to be on your show. Thanks for having me here.
Good to have you. Maybe to start this off, I imagine that you were a wrestling fan growing up of the original Championship Wrestling from Florida.
Yes, sir. That's what introduced me to the sport to begin with. Look, I was lucky. I grew up here in Florida, and Championship Wrestling from Florida was here, and Gordon Soley and all those guys made sure everybody saw it. So it was a very discouraging time for me, growing up as a fan when it finally disbanded and turned into the NWA. But yeah, I've loved it my whole life, man. And we're working really hard to bring it back to somewhere near its former glory.
You were a wrestler too yourself. Could you tell us a little bit about your wrestling career?
Yes, sir. I just wrestled the independent scene. I didn't, I never got signed by anywhere big. Never done, any of that. No WrestleManias or anything like of that nature. But yeah, I've worked the indie circuit now for almost 20 years, and I'd like to see some changes in it. Obviously, it's good, but it could be so much better. And hopefully, some of the things we're going to try to implement around this state does that.
Was it a difficult process to obtain the rights to use the CWF name?
No, actually, man, it was a little frustrating at first, but you just have to learn the way the trademarks and all that kind of stuff works, which is what I had a little bit of time on my hands, so that's what I did with it. And I just done a lot of research on it, and nobody ever owned the trademark to it ever. So it was a little bit difficult because Vince owns Florida Championship Wrestling as a trademark, even though he doesn't use it anymore. He still owns the rights to that name. And Championship Wrestling from Florida is very similar, just a different configuration of the same words. So that's why, the Reloaded was added to it, CWF Reloaded. Because obviously we're not the original CWF, unfortunately, a lot of those guys have gone on. And but this is the next group of Florida wrestlers that are top notch, and they need to be seen by the public. So that's kind of our mission, man. Get these really good local guys around here, out on TV the way it was back in the old days.
Now, you mentioned get them out on TV. Your first show aired on like the local streaming service in Tampa. Any plans for this October 23rd show to also air on television?
This time we've made a deal with Viva Live, which is the same company that SWE Fury works with to do some of their TV stuff in their pay-per-views. So, I figured they're doing a pretty good job with that for them. They could do it with us, and they agreed to do it. So, as of October 23rd and every show forward, Viva Live is going to be the ones handling that.
Very good. Now, Kevin Sullivan, he's obviously involved in this. How did you become friends with Kevin Sullivan? And we know he's going to manage, he's already managing the Purple Haze and possibly going to be managing the Blood Hunter in the new CWF. Does he have any other roles in the company besides managing?
Oh, man, Kevin Sullivan. there isn't enough good things to say about that guy. I met him, I think it was April 9th of this year. There was a convention in Tampa during WrestleMania week or whatever. And I just happened to be, our table happened to be positioned right next to his table. So, him being a CWF veteran, and, he seen the letters and stopped me and asked me, "Hey, what does this mean?" And that's what sparked the conversation. And it pretty much caused an instant friendship between him and I, because pretty much he's called me at least once or twice a day, or I've called him once or twice a day since that first encounter. And he's a super intelligent man. He's been doing this business for 40 some odd years. He's seen this episode a million times, enough times so that he can tell you what's going to happen, and people call him a genius for it. I can tell you that. And to me, he definitely is a genius. I couldn't have done a lot of the stuff that we've been able to do without him being a part of this.
Yeah, his mind is still very sharp. He's only 71, and he has a lot of great ideas for professional wrestling that make you still guess if it's a show or not.
Yeah, he's something else, man. His friendship is something that, man, I can't even describe it. It's awesome. I've been in this business 20 years. I've met a lot of different people, but I still smile like a little kid when I see his name on my phone calling me, man. Hopefully that never changes, man. That he's something special to me, even outside this business.
Now, there's a fan on here that would like to know what towns you plan on running in Florida.
So far we have venues in Tampa. We have some in St. Pete, Clearwater, Bradenton, Palmetto, Waimama, Arcadia. I do believe I have a connection in Pensacola. So we're going to be pretty much all over around the state of Florida eventually.
I understand that the Fort Homer Hesterly Armory might be an eventual stop. I know it's changed a little bit since the glory days, but you've been in talks with them as well.
Oh yeah, they're super nice people. They're definitely willing to let us do something there. It's just situation has to be right, because there, like you say, there are new owners of that building, and they do have a certain connection to the history in the past, but they're at the end of the day, it's all about the money, and it's a significant amount to get in that building.
When you were growing up, going to CWF events, is there one that stands out to you from your childhood that was just off the charts?
Oh man, my grandfather took us to the Sportatorium, and it just happened to be the day that Dusty Rhodes did the hanging of Kevin Sullivan from the rafter in there, and I believe that was the same time that the Purple Haze was actually introduced. So that was what I remember most, as far as my childhood growing up and being hooked on this wrestling thing.
Any memories of Billy Graham from those days?
I wish I had more standout memories like that, but I've been hitting the head a lot of times with a lot of heavy objects, so memories are kind of sporadic and a thing of the past sometimes.
There's a few fans on here that are saying you remind them of Goldberg.
Nice. Hey, it's just the white beard here, I think.
Now, you actually had a bad injury, I guess, that ended your wrestling career pretty much, but it was wrestling that saved you from probably becoming a paraplegic. Could you tell us that story?
Man, yeah. My day job, my shoot job, as we call it, I was a roofer. I was a roofer for 15 years for the same company, a family-owned company. And, I say roofing is like riding a motorcycle. It's not an if, it's a when you fall, are you going to be ready situation. And after 15 years of being on every type of roof there is, my day finally came, and I was about 14 feet off the ground when it happened. And I almost saved I almost saved the fall. I was putting a piece of metal trim around the house, fascia trim. And when I felt myself go over, I tried to grab that, but it ended up cutting the tips of my fingers off. So that was the amount of time that I had to see what was down on the ground before I landed on it. And when I looked over the edge, there's concrete yard gnomes. It was a mobile home, and for some reason, old folks in this state love to fill their yard with concrete yard gnomes. So I have this thought in the back of my head: oh my God, I'm about to be the wrestler that dies from a yard gnome. And as I felt the end of my fingers finally cut all the way off, I pushed away from the house to clear those concrete gnomes, and I landed between two of them, and they came up between, like my armpit areas, and I just laid there. I'm a 260-pound man, so when I landed after a 14-foot fall, it was a heck of a thud. So.
How did they get the tops of your fingers attached back on? Because they look okay now.
Yeah, it was just the very end, like maybe an eighth of an inch on the two end fingers, and maybe a little over that on the middle finger. But yeah, they grew right back together, pretty good. So the only lasting injury I have is the spine. I broke my back in 3 places with that fall, and there was just no way. I'm laying back there. I have a lot of family who are first responders, and I know how hard it is to get those gurneys in and out of certain places. And there was 2 other guys on the job with me, and they came down and helped me stand up. And I walked around to the front of the house that I fell off of, and that's where the ambulance came and picked me up and took me to the emergency room.
Now, as far as South Florida, there's a fan on here that wants to know, do you have any plans to go to South Florida?
South Florida, that's a hard question. There's a couple of decent companies that run in that area, and they're actually friends of mine, and they do really, really good numbers down there. I don't think I would want to impede on what they're doing or cause any type of bad blood. I mean, I may go as far as Naples, but I don't know if I would go much farther than that.
Patrick would like to know if you could provide us who your wrestling influences are and what style of CWF are we going to see, what style of wrestling?
Well, you're going to see a pretty decent mixture in CWF. We have high fly guys, we have big power move type guys, and we have strong style guys. It really depends on who's in what area our show is in, particularly as to who we're booking. There's obviously a lot of really decent, really good wrestlers in this area, but they're mixed up all around the state. So when I start moving in these different areas, I've been doing this 20 years. I know who these guys are. So when I go to their areas, I'll make sure that they're on our shows. It's I was trained old school Malenko style. That's the style that I was given. That's the style that I love. I'm not a big hardcore guy. I just never. It's just something I never really got into. I've done a couple matches, but didn't really like it much or whatever. I'm a traditional old school, Malenko style wrestler. That's what I like. But I understand that not all fans are the same. There's many different types of wrestling and many different types of wrestling fan. I'd like to see all of them at our show having fun.
Now, speaking of the Malenkos, you used Debbie Malenko on your last event in Tampa. I believe that was one of her first matches in years, and now she's been added to the upcoming NWA Women's Pay-Per-View. What's your plans for a women's division since women's wrestling is so hot these days? Are you going to stick with the older females like that, or are you going to bring in some younger ones as well?
Well, no, we have her, and she's in great shape, man. I tell you, she's a serious chick, man. She can do this. And we brought in Marina Tucker. She's absolutely an absolute awesome talent. There's a lot of other, decent female wrestlers around the state that we're definitely going to be using. We're going to try to have a very strong women's division.
Donnie wants to know if you're any relation to the great Johnny Weaver.
I have a brother named John, but not that John.
David wants to know if you ever met Pat Patterson, who was living in the Florida area for years.
Yes, I have. I've met Pat Patterson and Jerry Briscoe and all those guys. We have a thing here every 2 or 3 months in Tampa. It's called Florida Wrestling's Legends Luncheon. Brian Blair runs it, and Bob Cook helps him, keep people, coming to those things. And it's awesome. I've got to meet a lot of different legends like those guys, just simply being a part of that.
No, Bob Cook was at your first event just to visit with everybody. Do you have any stories about him? He's quite a character. He's probably going to watch this, knowing him.
Oh, Bob Cook, if it's wrestling related, he's going to be, tuned into it. And if there's wrestling somewhere in the community, he's going to definitely be there. Bob, man, he's a great guy. I've known him for the better part of 20 years. He's one of those guys I always looked up to. And if he was at an event I was, working at, I always went to him. Hey, how was my match? Critique it, please. He's one of those guys. And Bob, it's a crime he doesn't have a job somewhere teaching this younger generation how to throw a punch, because he still to this day has the best punch you'll ever see in professional wrestling.
Mike wants to know if you know Gangrel at all, who also lives in Florida. Your thoughts on his wrestling school and any chance we'll see him in CWF.
Gangrel, great guy, another Malenko alumni. He does have a wrestling school, and he's turning out some really good students, and that he's one of the reasons why I wouldn't try to go down south. That's where his operation is out of. So I wouldn't want to mess with him or CCW. Just a professional courtesy type of thing. Yeah, Gangrel, he'll be a part of our shows here soon, I believe.
Coastal Championship Wrestling is Pablo Marquez's company, right? Or is he involved with that still?
He's somehow involved with it. I think somebody actually bought it from him. I think he helps with some of the stuff or whatever, but I'm not sure to what extent. I haven't talked to him for a while now.
Is that the company? I'm not sure if it's that one or another one in Florida that actually used Invader a few years ago from Puerto Rico that killed Brody.
Oh, God, I don't know, man. I didn't know he was here.
Yeah, apparently he wrestled in Florida. He was teamed with Savio Vega or something.
Well, that's probably who brought him here then, because Savio owns a promotion here. I can't remember, IWC or something like that, I think it's called.
Okay. Someone's wondering if you ever met Billy Jack Haynes, one of the big Florida stars of the day.
No, but I definitely love to. I enjoyed, your interview with him. It was quite entertaining.
Yeah, he was supposed to. The first one I did with him, he made it a little interesting because he wanted people to watch the video and go to this convention that David Penzer was putting on in Florida. But Penzer got mad at him for the interview he did with me and canceled him. So it'd be nice if someone would actually use him in Florida to make up for that.
Well, yeah, man. Maybe we'll talk when we go off air, man. I'd definitely like to see him here again.
Definitely. As far as the legendary feuds of Florida when you were growing up, you mentioned the Dusty and Kevin Sullivan. Is there any others that stand out to you as some of your favorites?
Well, my introduction to professional wrestling was through my grandmother, and she was the biggest Dusty Rhodes fan I've ever seen, still to this day. So she was the one who would make me sit down and watch her wrestling. So she thought, I got to watch my wrestling, she would always say. So I just moved here when I was 7 or 8 years old from Ohio. That's where I was born, Ohio. But I moved here when I was 7 or 8 years old, and I moved in with my grandparents. Well, she turns the TV on, and it just happens to be Dusty Rhodes versus Kevin Sullivan. So it just, that happened to be the night that was on. So that was my first introduction to professional wrestling, and instantly I was hooked. Then later on, the Ric Flair came out, the Road Warriors. I was really young when the Road Warriors came out, and they were completely different from every other wrestler you ever seen. You know, everything was really technical and, you know, a slower paced match. Now here come these gargantuans that just come out and destroyed people. So, you know, I was lucky. I grew up in the best time, you know, because the best wrestlers in the world were at their height at that time. So that's what I was exposed to growing up.
Being from that area, did you ever hear anything about the real story about what happened with Eddie Graham?
Um, Not in the community so much. I've, you know, I talked to a lot of different folks, and everybody has their little ideas, you know. But I've heard a bunch of different scenarios of what could have happened. I heard, you know, silly crap like he was mixed up with the mob or something. I don't know if he was or he wasn't. It seemed like to me, you know, doing the research on CWF that I done, his name is obviously mentioned a lot throughout that entire history. It seemed to me like everything I found out about Eddie Graham, you know, even on a business level, he was a stand-up guy. You know, I mean, he'd done a lot for the community. He'd done a lot to help, you know, other people. And so I don't know if he was actually mixed up in the mob. I know the mob was pretty, you know, prevalent back in Tampa in those days, but I don't know, man. I found no real proof to it.
Now, I see that you're married, but Florida back in the day was known for the ring rats. David is asking if you have any stories from when you were a wrestler, or had it died down by the time you got into the business?
What was the term he used?
Ring rats.
I've never heard of that, man.
Oh.
I've been married 27 years, brother. I've never heard anything like that.
Now, you're still very large, but you used to work out a lot. The fans always like to know the best bench press, squat, and deadlift.
Well, I never really considered, you know, the maximum amount of weight that you could push one time as a max. That to me isn't really a max. My max was a 10 rep, you know, 3-set workout, and it my height of my workouts, I was repping 405, 10, 10, 10. That was to me was I couldn't do it with more than 405. I tried, but you know, I ended up tearing something a little bit, and just dumping the weight. But that was my heaviest workout ever. You know, 3 sets a 10 for 405. Yeah, I was pretty strong fella when I was a little bit younger.
Yeah. How tall are you?
6'5".
6'5". Any plans on having an on-screen role as part of this company, or are you going to be more behind the scenes?
No, brother, I've done all I ever cared to do in the wrestling business. You know, I've managed, I've refereed, I've wrestled, you know, been the timekeeper, I've done the music and all that. You know, I don't have anything left that I want to do, you know, other than try to provide the best wrestling there is from this great state.
Outback Jack lives in Fort Lauderdale. Someone's asking if you ever met him.
Outback Jack? No, I don't think I have.
He was the one that he had like the Crocodile Dundee gimmick for a period of time in WWE, but he's lost his eyesight since.
Oh no, I know Skinner.
Yeah.
I know him. He's an awesome guy. I love that guy.
Is he going to be it? I think he may have actually stopped by at the last one, didn't he? Or
he may have.
Yeah.
I was super busy that day. I missed. You know, some of the guys just popped in to say hi. They didn't stick around for the entire show. You know, with other obligations or whatever. But there was quite a few different people who stopped in. Joe Malenko stopped in, and he watched a couple of matches and then took off. You know, so who knows? He could have been there. I wouldn't doubt it. A lot of guys showed up.
Yeah, there was a lot of pictures from the event. I don't know, but another guy from that area who we've used in our company here in Canada a bunch is Wes Briscoe, the son of Gerald Briscoe. Could you see him doing any appearances in the future?
Well, certainly. He's definitely one of the guys around this state who are on that next level and need more. So yeah, he's definitely on the list of guys to come through here.
Yeah, I never quite understood why he hasn't been picked up. I know his fiance Red Velvet is doing well in AEW now, but he's better than a lot of the ones that have been given chances in WWE. Plus, he's Gerald's son.
Yeah, man, I don't know what the deal is with him. I think I've only met him once or twice in the whole time I've been in the States. So I don't know what's going on, but I definitely use him.
Patrick is wondering, what titles are you going to have in your company, and is there any titles introduced yet?
The titles are going to be the same titles that CWF had originally. Florida heavyweight champion, Southern champion, tag team, women's, the regular stuff. A television title as well.
Patrick is wanting to know if you could name some of the wrestlers you have booked for the Waimama Convention Center, October 23rd.
There's a few of them I have here. We have our core group of guys like David Mercury, the Technical Alchemist, Joey Osborne, Eddie Torres, and State Line. You already mentioned that Kevin Sullivan has the Purple Haze, and possibly the Blood Hunter is a part of that. So these are definitely rumors that I'm hearing. Gangrel, he is inquiring about making his appearance here as well. So it's this, we're lucky in this state. A lot of guys come through here for different reasons, and I wouldn't doubt there's going to be fellas that are on this show that nobody would ever thought they would see here. So
how many are you expecting for that one? I know for your first event there was some issue with parking, and fans might not know this. I mean, it was their first event ever. But there was some issue at the building that prevented some of the fans from getting in. So there actually would have been more tickets, but you have more of a buzz going into the second event.
Yeah, definitely. The first event double booked the venue on us. They also booked a quinceañera, which is a birthday, and there was probably 200 different people that showed up for that. So that took up a whole bunch of parking. And we literally turned away 40 cars because there was nowhere else to park. The entire highway was all parked up and down both sides. The whole building in the grass, except for where it was flooded because that tropical depression had just blew through the week before, so everything was flooded out still. Yeah, we had different technical issues there, but the venue that we're at now and the one that we're going to be at after this one, there's absolutely no problem with parking. It's all asphalt, so. This venue in Waimama, they hold about 1,000 people. I definitely like to see that as close to maxed out as possible. The venue that we're going to be at after that is the Ellington Ice Arena. That venue there holds roughly about the same, maybe 1,500. And it's actually at a mall, so there's a mile of parking in either direction. We won't have any issues as far as that goes into the future.
Yeah, you learn as you go. And did you have any promoting experience before starting CWF? I know you have great advisors now, but is this your first venture on the promoting side, or were you doing other shows earlier on?
I mean, I guess it's my first venture as the promoter. I wasn't the show owner or anything like that before, but I definitely helped with every aspect with different companies throughout my 20 years in the business. I might not know everything to do, but I definitely know what not to do. And I've seen a lot of different companies start and stop in no time flat. I know what mistakes they made, and I definitely won't be making those same mistakes. Maybe some different ones, but definitely not those ones. But yeah, I've had quite a bit of experience with different promotions around the state of Florida.
Are you friends with Brian Blair at all?
Yeah, Brian's a great guy. I mean, we don't call each other every Sunday or anything, but whenever he sees me, I see him. We shake hands and talk, catch up a little bit. Yeah. Great guy. He's the one that kind of put me on the motion on how to get the CWF thing, going again. He was the one that pointed me in the right direction.
Yeah, because I remember his name being thrown around at one point, but of course, his son was just found murdered, I guess, at a construction site.
Oh man!
Have you heard anything about if they found any suspects for that yet?
No, and I don't even want to ask, man. That's sad business. You're not supposed to bury your kids, man. Poor guy has to. My heart goes out to him and his entire family.
There's a fan on here wondering what you would consider your favorite wrestling angle of any promotion.
Oh man, my favorite angle. Good Lord, man, I'm just a huge wrestling fan in general. I don't know if I have any favorite angle or swerve. I was a huge Four Horsemen fan, so anything involved with that. A huge Road Warriors fan, so anything involved with them. But no, I wouldn't say I have any particular favorite.
You've had an issue, I guess, with some other people trying to use similar names as Championship Wrestling from Florida. Has that been pretty much resolved now?
I don't know. It's turned over to the attorneys. Yeah, I own the trademark on CWF, so if he's going to use it, that's fine. He's just going to have to pay me to do it at some point. So,
where can people find
attorneys, brother?
Yeah, yeah. Sadly, that's a side of owning a business that you have to deal with, as I know, and those legal fees aren't fun to pay.
No, they're already paid, so they might as well start doing it right off the bat.
Yeah. Now, as far as your social media for CWF, could you share that with the fans?
It's just CW or Championship Wrestling from Florida on Facebook and Instagram, or you can go to CWFreloaded.com. That's our website. It's completely interactive. You can send and receive messages back and forth through that. You have anybody you want to see, possibly show up at CWF in the future, send in your thoughts. If you go to our show, send in your thoughts. That's what we put it on there for.
Steven says all the wrestlers that recently got cut from NXT, I'm sure some of them live in Florida. I don't know if you watch NXT or not. Obviously, they're not getting a lot of views these days since AEW started, but any thoughts on any of those released guys that you'd be interested in?
Hey, I'm open. I'm open. Any talent that wants to come through here and try to make their mark, if they're Florida wrestlers, they have a chance to get on this card. It's just that easy.
And they can reach out to you on Facebook, I imagine, if there's a wrestler watching this that wants to try and get booked with you.
Yeah, sure, not a problem. Reach out on there, go to the website. Either way, it'll come back to me either way.
Very good. Well, I appreciate you checking in with us and filling the fans in on CWF Reloaded. Feel free to let me know anytime. Maybe come back on closer to the October 23rd date once you know the card better.
Awesome, man. Not a problem. Yeah, we'll be ready to release information by then.
Great.
We just got to pen to paper. So
yeah. Well, let's plug this again here. The Waimama Convention Center, October the 23rd. There is a meet and greet at 5 p.m., 6 p.m. bell time. 100% Kevin Sullivan's going to be there. Bunch of others. I'll let you close this interview off with whatever you want to say to the fans.
Hey, brother, thank you again for having me on the show. To all the fans that want to come out to the show, please do so. We can't do this without you, and we do this for you. So please come on out and enjoy the show. Don't forget to go on CWFreloaded.com and drop your comments.
Thank you for watching the Hannibal TV. Please like this video if you